ম্যাডাম চলে এসেছে।
এসেছেন?
হ্যাঁ, ম্যাডাম এসেছে।
ওকে, ইয়েস। So should we start now?
Yes.
Sir, should we start? তাকে দেখতে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না।
যাচ্ছে শোনা?
Okay. Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Nandita Bhomik Chaudhary from Department of English, Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis Mahavidyalaya. This is our last session of our webinar today, titled "Girl Interrupted: Trauma and Emancipation of Women." Now we are going to enjoy the speech of Dr. Aishika Chakraborty in this session. Now I'm going to ask Dr. Shamal Karmakar, our Honorable Principal Sir, to deliver the welcome speech. Over to you, sir.
Hello, শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, শোনা যাচ্ছে, প্লিজ।
Good evening. I, Dr. Shamal Karmakar, Principal of Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis Mahavidyalaya. It is a moment of great privilege and honor for me to extend a hearty welcome to all of you, the students and participants today at this memorable event and international webinar entitled Girl Interrupted: Trauma and Emancipation of Women. I find immense pleasure in introducing our guest, Dr. Aishika Chakraborty, Professor, School of Women Studies, Jadavpur University, the resource person of our program. I extend a warm welcome to her. I'm proud to mention that our students will be in contact with such a personality who will encourage them to learn and think about a small classes of women whose occupation is known as Cabaret dancer at Calcutta. Their lives, sorrows, and hypocrisy of the society to judge them externally. It is worth mentioning that it will take at least 1 hour to describe about the devoted works done by Professor Chakraborty last 30 years. But I will mention it in a nutshell. He obtained her PhD from Department of History, University of Calcutta. Title of her thesis is Widowhood in Colonial Bengal, 1850-1930. She was trained under contemporary dancer, choreographer, and feminist anthropologist, Dr. Manjushri Chaki Sarkar. She has a parallel journey as a dancer performer who spans a period of almost 5 years, being a member of the Executive Committee, Dancers Guild, Kolkata. From the year 2000s onwards, Aishika represents Dancers Guild in major dance seminars, conducted workshops, lecture, demonstration in several universities, educational and performing institutions. As a performer, Aishika has participated and performed in several national and international conferences and dance festivals all over India. We have entered already in a new world of virtual platform for lectures and workshops as the lockdown brought about by coronavirus. I feel proud and privileged to be a part of this innovative and vibrant team of Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis Mahavidyalaya. They are tirelessly working on how to enrich students with educational workshops and seminars to upgrade their knowledge. I congratulate them for their noble endeavor. I am very happy to share that IQAC of our college had already organized different webinars during this pandemic situation. We received a large number of response from teachers, students, and research scholars. It has also become clear from their feedback that the participants have been benefited by attending webinars. Today's webinar is based on special topic, Calcutta Cabaret, pleasure, politics, and perversion. It's a very controversial topic. Actually, we do not know about this something that is our knowledge. I will mention here a case study about bird dancers that on July 21st, 2005, the bill to ban the dance bars in Maharashtra was passed unanimously at the end of a marathon debate. It was a sad day for some of us paltry group of women activities who had supported the bar dancers and opposed the ban. We were far outnumbered by the pro-ban group, the Dance Bar Virodhi Manch, who had submitted 150,000 signatures to the Maharashtra State Assembly, insisting on the closure of dance bars. The ban came into effect from August 15. We were sad not because we were outnumbered, not even because the bill was passed unanimously, but because of the manner in which an important issue relating to women was discussed. Comments that were passed on the floor of the House by our elected representatives who are under the constitutional mandate to protect the dignity of the women. Subsequently, we have heard rumors that some of these comments have been withdrawn and will not be reflected in the reported proceedings. But this cannot obviate the fact that this is the way our elected representatives think about women. I will not elaborate my talk. This is and we will here we listen to her now.
Your video is muted.
Unmute করো নন্দিতা দি
Muted.
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Dr. Kamukar, for your warm welcome speech. Now, I would like to ask my colleague, Ms. Ankana Dash, to introduce Dr. Chakraborty. Over to you.
Thank you, Nandita Devi, and thank you, Dr. Kormukar, for the wonderful intro. But I will still take the privileges bestowed on me to formally introduce Dr. Chakraborty. Dr. Aishika Chakraborty is professor and former director of the School of Women's Studies, Jadavpur University. She is a member of the Arts Leadership Council of Indian Chamber of Commerce. A gender historian, her research interests range from the histories of Bengali Hindu widows of colonial Bengal to the journey of modern contemporary dance of India. She is presently writing on exotic erotic dance that thrives at the interface of sexual labor, migration, and human trafficking. Dr. Chakraborty is author of many well-reputed books, including Ranjabati, A Dancer and Her World 2008, which she co-edited with Urmimala Sarkar. She recently authored 2 monographs in Bengali, Kolkata Nach, Shomokalin Noronitto 2019 and Kolkata Cabaret, Bengali Juganto এবং Miss Shefali 2020. She is also presently engaged in a video documentation on Miss Shefali, the first cabaret dancer of color in post-colonial Calcutta. Thank you and welcome Dr. Aishika Chakraborty to this webinar. Now over to you. You may start.
Hello.
Should I start?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Principal Sir, for inviting me to this webinar, because college and to share my my current research with the faculty, with the other participants and students. And incidentally, this is my first seminar on Miss Shefali or Calcutta Cabaret, the politics, pleasure and perversion within quotes, after the death of Miss Shefali. Because after every seminar, I used to kind of cross-check facts with the Cabaret Queen, and she used to inquire about her, the way I have presented her. So this is in a way a little special and a little, I'm not feeling very sometimes comfortable with the fact that she is no more, because she died within a week after the release of my Bengali monograph, Kolkata Cabaret, Bangali Jaunata Ebong Miss Shefali. And so without wasting any time, I am starting my talk, and I would like to begin with a film, with a, I'm sorry, maybe a little, yes. Ankona, if I fail, then you please.
Sure, Aishika. Is this the Kolkata?
Yeah.
Should I play it for you?
No, I have started. Can you see it?
No.
Okay. 1 minute.
You have to share the screen.
Share screen, yes.
Yes, ma'am. It is. We can see it now.
Is it audible also? Right?
Audible, no.
It is. The sound is very.
Aishika, I can play it for you. Should I start?
Okay.
Because we cannot hear.
You start. No problem.
আসতে পারি
না পারবো
এবার ব্রেনকে বলতে পারিস আবার টিচার বলতে পারিস ব্রেন প্রাইভেট টিউটর তাই না
বসো দাঁড়িয়ে কেন
বস make yourself at home
আর সারাদিন কত খাটি 80 বছরের একটা বুড়ো মরেও না
তুমি নাচ করলে কেউ আর মরতে চায় কি বলছে পরিতোষ কিরে জল খাবো
নিজে নিয়ে নিতে পারবে না বুঝি
না বাবা বড্ড হেঁটেছি
তুমিও খাবে নাকি
কি চুল দেখেছিস প্রাইসলেস
তোমার এই বন্ধুটিকে তো আগে দেখিনি
না মানে পাঠানো থেকে নতুন এসছে তো
চুপচাপ কেন এত
কলকাতার হালচাল দেখে মাথা ভঙ্গ করছে। বললাম চল লেট করে আছে।
আমাকে কিন্তু 5 মিনিট সময় দিতে হবে ভাই, রাতে একটু ধুয়ে নেবো, যা গরম।
আচ্ছা জায়গায় 5:30 হলে কিন্তু মুশকিল।
বেশ বাবা, 1 লাখটা সিট খেয়েছে আমার।
টিকিট চাইছে, তুমি একেবারে আউট অফ স্টক।
এতে ধরিয়ে দেবেন?
ম্যানার্স ম্যানার্স। তোমার বন্ধুর কিন্তু সমস্যা হচ্ছে না?
আমার তো মনে হয় ওরা আমাকে ভালোই লাগছে।
দাঁড়াও স্যার, ওর পেটে খিদে, মুখে লাজ। বুঝতে পারছিস না? তুই কি ভাবছিস সেটা আমি ভাবছি না, ঠিক? এখানে কেউ ভাবতে আসে না, বুঝেছিস? তুই তো মাল খেয়ে তোর কি খুব একটা খারাপ লাগবে? ঠিক সেরকম প্রথমটা লাগবে, 5 লাগবে, তারপর সব। কি হলো?
এই সময় একটুখানি এদিকে খুঁজতে খুঁজতে পারছি না।
আসে।
I am sorry for those who didn't understand the language or the Bengali dialogues. This film is made by Satyajit Ray. This is one of the part of his Calcutta trilogy and the first of this trilogy. The second, Shima Bhatt, and the third, John Orwell. Miss Shefali, the nurse playing the role here, she's the nurse who moonlights as a prostitute, has been cast in this film and which actually triggered quite a furor among the nurse union of Calcutta. My paper is on the Calcutta Cabaret, on the Cabaret Queen of Calcutta, who once darted the sort of a sacral cultural performance by her ignominious cabaret. This is a kind of introduction because this is Shefali's first movie and she always cherished the moment that how many cabaret girls in India had the opportunity to work with Satyajit Ray. So this is a moment of her pride. But we can ask, certainly, but this is also a moment of how Calcutta or the middle class intelligentsia, and also the man who actually, the role played by Dhritiman Chatterjee, how he encountered the Nats and how the city itself descended into vice with a headlong collision with this immoral Nats. So this paper actually revisits the many journeys of Miss Shefali, a refugee girl from East Bengal, turned the first Bengali cabaret dancer of post-colonial Kolkata. I will weave together many personal interviews, my 5-year-long ethnographic research with her as I present some crucial moments of her life, which will simultaneously unpeel some of the squalid underbelly of the city And I will look at the city life from the eyes of the cabaret dancer. And I will map the way she had ferried herself from the swanky nightclub to some other seedy theater spaces during the 1970s, till she falters and fades away from both worlds, going down in ignominy with her infamous cabaret. So, thriving, as Ankona has just said, and the way the principal has introduced myself, they have talked about the intersection of dominance, fantasy, resistance, desire, and how a cabaret dancer or any dancer who now works in the bar, nightclub, how they dance the night away at immediate transgressive spaces, ferrying themselves from different nightclubs to many seedy, open-air, commercial places, and becoming viscerally the moral and sexual, an epitome of moral and sexual transgression. Shefali is important for me because at a time when the nation was refurbishing an unsullied cultural order in terms of monolithic religious identity and purity, Shefali dared to be bad. With fierce resilience, she defeated the stereotype of victimhood, coping and dealing with sexual double standards of the middle-class elite who consumed her erotic labor and then denied her the right to livelihood, culture, and survival. So with Shefali, I will also like to talk back against the moral policing of the progressive democratic state, which once forced her out of the space of public performance. As an antidote to the theory of commodification and sexual objectification, I will celebrate today, and this is the first one after her death, her journey as a devious and subversive force in popular culture, where the refugee woman's scandalous cabaret unsettled the moral universe of the Bengali middle class, simultaneously earned her empowerment, respect, and enough money to live her life to the fullest. So in the opening lines of her memoir, Shefali once said that my name is Aruti Das. You know me by the name of Miss Shefali. There was a time when I was the reigning queen of Kolkata's nightclub. I have started my day when you dozed off. So here's the story of a first Bengali cabaret dancer and the story of a kaleidoscopic city called Calcutta. Here goes my life, and here you have the sin and sensation of Kolkata's nighttime leisure and pleasure. So interrogating middle-class bhadralok's politics of ethics and aesthetics, she positions herself, her class, politics, and culture in opposition to those of her elite readers. She moves further to establish her bond, making herself inseparable with the forbidden desire of the city. So let me start with some anecdotes. Let me start with my field trip with Shefali and how actually I met her, how many times maybe, and let me share about something about my ethnographic research based on the cabaret lives, cabaret girls' life. Shefali used to live in Jadavpur Road before. She spent there the last years of her life, overlooking it was called Neel Pukur, or the Dewy Eye Pond at Jadavpur Road, North Calcutta. There stands a fluorescent green building where Shefali spent the last years of her life after the huge Circus Avenue flat where she used to live when she was the cabaret dancer of Oberoi Grand. The letterbox down the stairs, she still carries both her names. Aruti Das now prefers to keep her more celebrated self with Shefali within bracket. The small flat that opens to a dark doorway displays on the pillar of the kitchen a framed black and white poster of Chaurangi, the blockbuster stage play where her sensational cabaret once hit the jackpot, making the theater a roaring success. Some old photographs here and there and a framed one with Uttam Kumar, the matinee idol of Bengali film industry, put firmly on the plastic table as the centerpiece. A few vintage dancing dolls made of china clay or porcelain in the showcase, point towards a long association with European patrons and clients, and the iron trunks under the bed having stored the shimmery jute skirt of her famous Hawaiian hula dance. The short skirt made of dazzling crystal beads and the sheer blue Georgette harem pajamas that once shone in the billboards of Hathibagan Theatre, lying on both sides of the tram lines of North Calcutta. Magical memories wrapped up in old newspapers and naphthalene balls. She used to ask me many a times, "So what do you want to know?" Seated like an empress on a faded plastic chair, the cabaret queen of yesteryears would ask me every time. Thereafter, at each turning point, she used to ask herself this: "What do you want to know?" Then proceeded to answer on her own, going over all the turns and pauses of her life. How did Calcutta make an exotic Miss Shefali out of the half-starved refugee girl Arati Das? She would tell us how many times and how many ways she had changed with the ebbs and flows of time, how many Shefalis had appeared on different nights at different stages of Calcutta in front of many audiences. How she moved from one night to another, from upscale nightclubs of the White Town to the psychedelic revolving stages of theater, from art house cinema to one-wall shows or folk theaters or jatras. Branded in obscenity, how did she break apart? Am I not audible?
Yes. Yes, Aishika, you are. I think some glitch happened from your end. Sorry.
Branded in obscenity, how did she break apart many stereotypes, countering the familiar tropes of commodification, objectification, or victimhood of women? So as I said, I would like to share with you one special field trip. It can be called a field trip because Shefali was very eager to watch old theaters with me, and sometimes she kind of asked me about the new theater, what is going on in Kolkata now. So one day she heard about a recreation or reliving of theater of our own times, and she asked me to take her with take her to watch that theater. It was September 2015, Calcutta. Abdo Shesh Rajani, Tonight is the Last Night, was running full house in sold out auditoriums of North Calcutta. The biodrama was based on the life of a Bengali theatre director, Aishika Chakraborty of Chaturmukh, whose play Barbodhu, a female escort, first staged on 15th August 1972 with a 1,800 nights run at a stretch, become a sensation of commercial theatre, while by strident flags from progressive state and the intelligentsia for selling sleeves on stage. The play further faced the brunt of state censorship when in 1977, the Information and Cultural Affairs Minister of the ruling party asked the playwright to stop the show for the sake of Bengali culture and society. 30 years on, Abdo Shesh Rajani turns the table. Now it rewrites the erased history of commercial theatre, staging a backlash against the moral policing of the erstwhile liberal state, whose crusade against pervert culture or aposangskriti banned obscene plays, eventually forcing out erotic dancer performers and many theatre artists, especially cabaret dancers, from the space of public performance. In Abdo Shesh Rajani, the stage opens with a derelict tram that stands as a signifier of time-worn cityscape of Calcutta, which actually standing in a diagonal curve on the stage, from whose inside dancers float onto the stage, play acting cabaret, evoking memories of the sordid commercial theatre that once hit the jackpot with sleazily choreographed bump and green dashes in mundane family dramas. Set within a specific historic time and locale, the theatrical assemblage of the drama uses cabaret as a leitmotif of obscenity and cultural decadence where the reference of Miss Shefali, the iconic cabaret dancer of Calcutta, figures as a recurring metaphor of cultural decay or sexual transgression. The drama moves on to explore a more serious discourse, polemical discourse on the moral economy of professional theatre by raking up the binary between culture and corruption, pleasure and politics, high and low art, while Shefali hangs around as a signifier of a colonial subculture, the odd one out in the intellectual domain of urban intellectual theatre. I'm coming, intellectual is actually repeating time and again. Even though cabaret, like the abandoned tram, is no more than a theatrical prop in an otherwise effusive discourse on commercial drama, her name itself appears as a symbol of moral decadence, as an axiomatic allusion to the libidinous subculture of the city's underbelly. But when Shefali heard about the play, she rose to her feet to watch herself in this new dramatic venture. She was mad keen to see how Shefali returns with her ignominious dance, with whom and in which way. She arrived right on time to sit among the gentle audience in this new age gentrified theatre. The third bell rang and her back straightened to witness the replay of history. Was it a play of her time, of her genre, or a theatre of a different stock? Is her obscene cabaret part of the mainstream today? Or can she, as a political tool, trigger yet another re-understanding of political culture? She did not get the rhetoric entirely, perhaps, but listened how many times and how many ways her name was uttered as a byname of vulgarity in a city life. Shefali's face was not that pretty, but her breasts were awesome, hugely attractive. She observed closely the dancer who aped cabaret in free Bollywood style. But when the curtain came down over the prolix discourse over good theatre, bad theatre, commercial theatre, porn theatre, revolutionary theatre, and when audience made their exit, Shefali made her way too, touching and revisiting the myriad facets of theatre. She failed to identify herself with the dialogue, identify herself or find herself in the play. Bengali theatre, especially the commercial, one wins back its class position by virtue of the maker's ideological persuasion, but Shefali once again failed herself and her cabaret in that venture. So with this little brief prelude, I'm going back to the history of the cabaret dancer. Am I going to kind of take note of these comments that are coming on, or simultaneously, or after the paper is over?
After the paper is over, we will convey the questions to you.
Yes, because some of the questions are really kind of popping up before the, so in the computer screen. So sometimes I'm keen to, I'm feeling kind of tempted to answer them sometimes. Shefali was born as Arati Das in March 1947, just a few months before India earned its independence. She was born in Narayanganj, Dhaka, in East Pakistan. Displaced at birth, her family was forced to join the stream of refugees and took shelter in a riverside lumber room in North Calcutta's Ahiri Tola. Partition flame made her father jobless and forced her mother to work as a cook, the only respectable profession, to eke out a mouthful for the flat, broke refugee family. Now, recent researches by historians have already pointed out, and they have demonstrated that in an overpopulated job market, where wages were low, most refugee women, particularly those living in the sprawling slums of the city and located at the lower rung of the service sectors, they had to end up as domestic laborers, and which actually emerged as the only available and acceptable area of work for girl child, for refugee women, and especially for some Hindu widows. 11-year-old Arati too wanted a job like her mother, and soon she found one that of a whole-time housemaid in an Anglo-Indian household in Calcutta's Chandni Chowk. They were sahibs, she remembered in her memoir. Their clothes, West Virginia. Everything appeared foreign to me. I learned to live there differently through wiping and organizing wine glasses, suffering physical and verbal abuse, eating up. So I had a sizable salary and a daily routine. Arati learned to live differently in this unfamiliar home to survive in luxury and abuse. Sometimes, however, a beam of moonlight stole upon her when the family burst into wild dancing during Christmas and New Year. Arati danced too, furtively behind the curtain. It was there that she was offered a better job by a regular guest. His name was Vivian Hansen, who was the famous singer of Mocambo restaurant. He was a jazz singer of Park Street who frequented the Anglo-Indian house as a regular guest. Arati, in fact, owned a lucky hand before disappearing into darkness. Without knowing the rudiments of dance, not to speak of cabaret, the fearless girl of 11 risked her life to make her impossible dreams come true. She began her journey waltzing through a shaky ground in Calcutta's exclusive nightclub. Farpo's restaurant in Calcutta was established after the First World War around 1970s, and famous for its refined cuisine, Farpo's also boasted the Lido Room, the famous nightclub that during its peak years used to treat guests with 6 cabarets in a single night. Apart from having a full-size dance floor, Farpo's flaunted a huge live orchestra and the only sprung floor in India, which gave dancers a softer feel and an extra lift. It did give an extra lift to Arati's career, and the starving refugee girl was soon to stand out among the Eurasian fellow dancers of the famous Sunshine Girls, holding Calcutta in awe of her exotic cabaret for the next few decades. At an age when young girls usually went to school or played around the streets of their neighborhoods, Shefali danced, swung her body in bikinis before 1,000 men who sat gazing at her. She did that to survive, or also out of simple and pure exuberance of living. Did she drown alone in this quicksand of sin, or did she drag down the entire Bengali culture and society at the bottom of the filthy, grimy culture? But she simply chose to remove herself from the puritanism of the gentile audience. She distanced herself from the paraphernalia of a Bengali gentlewoman because her deal was with the rich, the wealthy, to become an invaluable fantasy girl, an object made for their adoration. The Bengalis, in fact, did not know where to keep her, how to keep her, or to how to dispose of her. Their dual masks shifted continuously in the depth of nights and rallied for a new parched culture in the daylight. Shefali, though a victim of the hypocrisy, had thoroughly watched this double standard with an invariable amusement. Farpo's rechristened Arati as Shefali, naming her after the night-blooming jasmine, a flower native to the South Asian tropical weather. Shefali, mythically known as the sad tree, flowers only at night and sheds them before the sun rises, losing sometimes all its brightness during the daytime. A very apt name indeed for the night queen of Calcutta, desired at night and hated with the daybreak. Her reincarnation was, however, something more than just a change of name. The famished body took years to re-embody lust and desire. A daily regimen of exercise and diet followed rigorously and to make the magical transformation happen. Her day started with a cup of coffee, she told me many a times, and with one piece of dry toast, and then practice began with live band in the dining hall. Charleston blues, Hawaiian, cha-cha-cha, can-can, and Oriental. I have learned every move by heart. And also some invaluable tricks about the interactional strategy of the nightclub. I learned how not to make myself available, but to remain always in demand. I learned by rote seductive pouts and furtive glance, when to begin and how to end, so that the attraction lingers in the audience's fantasy, so that they must come back for the rest. I have internalized everything in my descent and ascent on the way of becoming Miss Shefali. So Shefali's life story, in fact, offers a fascinating blend of sexual vulnerability and empowerment as she emerged as a devious force, as I said in the outset, in popular culture, emphasizing the importance of sexual power of an erotic dancer and as a woman. Wherever she danced, she owned the space. She said, I was always in control of myself and the men around me. While Shefali, it can be questioned, may have control over her image and over her profession as a cabaret dancer, it hardly elevates her stigmatized position within the Bengali culture. And it does not change the lack of control she has over her image and how she has been perceived or consumed. Nor does her power, monetary, financial, erotic, sexual, or even performative, fundamentally change the cabaret dancer standards, even if popular culture had consumed, even if middle-class patriarchal society had consumed her sexual and erotic labor. But I'm now going back to the history of Calcutta Cabaret as a close read into the cultural geography of exotic dance unfolds a fascinating interplay of colonialism and patriarchy in constructing the gendered bodies of native exotic dancers. If colonization is a business, was a business for men, it was also part of their sexual adventure. And exotic and erotic dance is not merely a symptom of colonization, it is a metonym, or rather a vector of it. So thriving at the intersection of eroticism, exoticism, and tourism, dance migrated across cultural and geographic boundaries and entered nightclubs of several colonial centers by mid-20th century. At the major stages of metropolitan capitals of empire, and especially Kolkata being the winter city, witnessed this dance, exotic dance and erotic dance during the Second World War. Cabaret, though hit the 19th century colonial exhibitions of Europe as a distinct trope of Western colonization, it traveled all over the empire as a powerful ally of colonization to arouse the illicit desire and sexual fantasies of chaste Christian men. Calcutta experienced a continuous flow of transnational migrant dancers well beyond independence. Not only white dancing bodies rolled in from Europe, but there was also a whole network of traveling exotic dancers from Egypt, Latin America, Morocco, who swarmed its European clubs and hotels individually or members of touring companies. Cabaret tourism was also encouraged as tourism was drawn to the eroticism of the dancers, the astonishing choreography, and partially to nude youthful bodies. By early 20th century, the capital of the British Empire in India, Calcutta emerged, as I just said, as an exclusive winter city and a holiday destination where music and entertainment abounded. While Western dance and music arrived in the entertainment scene, by the 1920s, a new generation of indigenous performers started playing a leading role in the transmission of Western popular culture, especially in the circuit of clubs and grand hotels. As go-betweens, Anglo-Indians and Goanese musicians passed on jazz, blues, and military brass band music to the post-colonial generation of musicians and dancers who were employed, who already got their recruitment in the European clubs and colonial hotels of the city. But once again, entertainment of the nightclubs were redefined in terms of colonial discrimination, and there was very clear-cut racial hierarchies in the entertainment scene, and reinforced delineations of racial boundaries between popular and elite entertainment, between authenticity and acculturation. Shaking up the binary distinction between signifier and the signified, Miss Shefali inhabited yet subverted the dominant representation that justified hierarchies of race and gender. As dynamics and idioms of decolonization in India followed interesting patterns and varied across places. Is there any, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Go on.
Please go ahead.
So actually I'm talking about this post 1947, the ownership of the centers of entertainments in and around Calcutta's Park Street, because Grand Hotel, which was once owned by Stephen Arathun, was bought on a lease by another refugee man called Mohan Singh Oberoi. And during the Second World War, when the American troops arrived Kolkata, Grand Hotel offered a new entertainment scene to the alleged soldiers, and around 4,000 soldiers were stationed in Grand Hotel, and they would party regularly. And we have some names. If you are actually interested, then I can, and if time permits, I can just talk about a line or two about Kolkata's culture, which actually flaunted some exotic and European dance forms. Like, thanks to the tutelary figure of Teddy Weatherford and his Anglo-Indian wife, Laura Shoreland, who laid a band at the Oberoi Grand from September 1940, Calcutta emerged as the theatre of the movement of Indianization of jazz. Despite the culmination of nationalist movements and the macabre famine of 1943, the circulation of nightclub culture continued unabated among the Indian elite and Anglo-Indians. After independence, the Indian bourgeoisie appropriated the white town culture as they came to value and invested money on the social space for its iconic status. It was a time when Blue Fox featured Pam Crane, where the jazz band was led by Louis Banks' Brotherhood, Mocambo hosted Vivian Hanson, Shirley Myers commanded a strong fan following at El Morocco, and Eve at Trinkas attracted the young generation who opted for jam session. Delia owned Moulin Rouge, where her daughter would can with her troupe during Christmas, and there were special cabarets, duet dances, even drag shows held at Mocambo, Magnolia, and Moulin Rouge. Grand hosted Princess and Casanova, where cabaret and musical towns were constantly arranged, while Goans and Anglo-Saxon dominated the nighttime economy. Farpos found an excellent proposition for keeping cabaret alive through a Bengali refugee girl, whom they rechristened Miss Shefali, as I just talked about her rise to quote-unquote power. The first Bengali cabaret girl who danced the night away for the next 3 decades, setting European clubs on fire, was Miss Shefali, who perhaps reinvented a new exotic self through an inverted process of decolonization. She told me repeatedly, people were unbelievably curious about me. Who was this girl? Where had she come from? My complexion, my hair, my dancing style, neither matched with another. Was she a Korean or an Anglo-Indian? It took people some time to realize that I was a Bengali, an absolute Bangal. While Shefali made herself synonymous with sizzling 60s, I am now kind of going ahead with time and how Calcutta actually changes its political landscape after the 1970s, because cabaret also entered yet another urban space with a new twist altogether, and guys, not in the exotic, erotic European way, but as obscene item numbers in Bengali commercial theatre. Once a hotbed of Bengali culture, the commercial theatres of North Calcutta were fighting at the time a lost battle against the new market economy of the 1970s as the new political theatre, which as an intellectual engagement of the leftist intelligentsia, staked a polemical distance from the old theatrical tradition of commerce and pleasure. 1970s also dawned upon some unforeseen political incidents. The violent spate of Naxalite movement, followed by the Bangladesh Liberation War, and subsequently another stream of refugees from the other side of the border triggering unprecedented turmoil inside the landscape of the anarchic city. In 1975, India witnessed the national emergency with a massive crackdown of civil liberties and political opposition. And in 1977, Bengal had a new left front government. The sudden turnaround in political culture had a direct impact on the cultural politics and policies of the state, which was nowhere as visible as it was in the realm of commercial theatre. So I have actually had to make a little leap towards the future from 1950s and 60s, from the Farpos and from the Oberoi Grand. Miss Shefali also actually heralded the grand journey from nightclub to commercial theatre. And as I said, she dirtied, she polluted, she corrupted the sacral space of Bengali culture by dancing cabaret in family drama or in social melodramas. Shefali's entry into the theatre not merely coincided, but rather heightened, accentuated its decay, and arguably it actually coincided with this aesthetic fall-off, which because theatre now, in the theatre owners, in a desperate move to survive against all odds, deployed gimmicky naturalisms like light and speed reflexes, like trapeze acts, derailed trains, speeding cars, flooding rivers all over the stage, and as a last-ditch effort by sporting cabaret dancers hired from the nightclubs of the former British quarters of Chowringhee. Shefali packaged her erotic number in a series of popular bumper hits. Her obnoxious cabaret saved the commercial theatre, but at the cost of Bengal's most prized possession, its culture, its Krishti, and his Sangskriti. There is a little kind of trajectory of commercial theatre, because commercial theatre, as I said, was fighting a lost battle against the new market economy, and not merely against new market economy, but also against another rival, which is the revolutionary theatre, as some historians or some theatre scholars now prefer to call it, because now the group theatre movement also gaining ground, and the commercial theatre of the good old days, which had actually kind of receded into the background as as something which now critics will say as porn theatre, as sex theatre, because they have started selling sex, selling sleaze on stage at the cost of culture, Bengali culture. So this was the time when Hatibagan or the North Calcutta scenario was marked by some decrepit and seedy theatre halls, some rickety chairs, and light started going out in the historical heritage cultural sites of Calcutta. So once Minerva, Star Theatre, Rangmahal, Vishwarupa, which once sported some super duper hits under veteran theatre makers, during the 1970s, they were actually struggling to survive in this new commercial theatre space. So cabaret was not actually kind of, it's not that cabaret dancers themselves chose to act in theatre, but it was the theatre owners, theatre producers, they, as a desperate last-ditch effort, they have invited, they have kind of put cabaret numbers, like item numbers in today's Bollywood movies, as a kind of thrills, little sexual erotic thrills, to drag the new middle class audience, to drag the lower middle class audience who had that money to see, to watch those new drama. But Chowringhee was a landmark, because Chowringhee, written by Bengali novelist Shankar, Moni Shankar Mukhopadhyay, actually was located within Hotel Shah Jahan, where the receptionist, Shankar himself, encountered the cabaret girl Connie, who arrived straight from Scotland via Persia, of course. Connie was a stripper. Incidentally, when Chowringhee was made into a film, when Uttam Kumar, Shubhendu Chatterjee, there was not a role for the cabaret dancer. So Koni was conspicuous by her absence in the film. It's a super hit film in Bengali called Chaurangi. But when Chaurangi was made in a theater, Miss Shefali acted. In fact, she played a slice of her life as Koni, and the theater called Chaurangi, the theater named Chaurangi, became a super duper hit. It ran for more than 5 years. But how was the reception in the theater space? Shefali told me repeatedly, frankly, theater was not my cup of tea. My co-stars hated me. I became the butt of their ridicule and tea time gossip. The life-size cutouts of my half-nude body covering the skyline of Calcutta got on their nerves. I was not considered an actress, but not even a dancer. I was branded as a sexual debauchee, an abominable perversion that needed to be evicted from the public space. Yet, Cabaret owned a massive following in the city. Beyond the repressed universe of Bengali middle-class morality, Cabaret opened an exciting, lascivious, and wit-prodding world, which was delightfully sinful and also outrageously utter. The rapid spread and popularity of the subculture among the common mass signals complete moral upheavals for the middle class and also for the intelligentsia. By moving away from the nightclubs of Park Street, now Cabaret hit the professional theater of North Calcutta, and it had now actually reached out to a much wider audience. Many believed that the obscene theater was a deliberate device to unleash anarchy in the cultural front in order to sedate, in order to petrify, distract the young radicals of Calcutta who were already deluded in a strangled mess of recession, unemployment, and depression. Instead of killing them in a political encounter, some of the theater archivists shared this fact with me, porn theater and vulgar dance sedated the radical spirit of Bengal. So nightclub entertainment, when pervaded Calcutta streets in open daylight, it was not that the fear of street violence kept people away from theater. No, it's not like that. People actually thronged in the theater houses to watch these cabaret shows. Culture was commodified. Many lamented on this trend, and porn became norm of the day. But Shefali remained irresistible. With surprising ease, she ferried herself from these two worlds of two Calcutta in a single night. From the theater haunt of Hatibagan to the Grand Hotel of Esplanade, from the hounding whistles passed by the common mass of theater, she arrived straight before the wealthiest elite at the Grand, where rights of admissions were reserved. And despite strident criticisms and moral policing, Shefali refused to call it quits. When they talked filthy about my dance, I went on to expose more. With every passing day, I lowered the waistline of my skirt. Come and see what you want to see. I care a damn about your moral stand. I never tried to hide my identity as a cabaret dancer. But what about you, who ogled my dance in the dark hour of the night and told it off as a symbol of cultural degradation, Aposhanskriti, with the onset of morning light? Do I have any time? It's already 1 hour. Shall I continue? I am asking the organizers. Yes?
Yes, you may, but you have to also take some questions at the same time, at the end. Okay.
Okay. So
you go on.
Okay.
You go on a bit.
So I'm just taking 5 minutes. Okay. So moral cultural censorship, pervert culture, took a curious turn in West Bengal. Many people, many of my contemporaries maybe are aware of this development, of this incident. When in 1983, Jadavpur Chakraborty, a public works minister of the state, declared that Usha Uttup, the famous pop singer of Trinkers, would be banned from singing in state-run auditoriums. His objections were that Uttup's disco and pop were prompting a decadent culture. It was a slight on Bengal's cultural tradition as the singer, quote-unquote, swayed hips in an obscene manner. He reiterated in his interview to a newspaper that songs and other performances of disco are perverted culture or aposanuskriti. It kills our noble tradition. It's a planned move to ruin the moral fiber of Bengali youth. In her turn, Uthuk, the reigning songster of Calcutta's nightclubs, and she also had a huge following during this time for the Bollywood hits like Hari Om Hari or Rama Ho or Jeete Hai Shan Se. She moved the court filing a defamation suit against Chakraborty. The court reprimanded the minister, making the state government to swallow its own words, acquitting the singer of fomenting perversion of aposanuskriti. But my question is that, can Miss Shefali, the cabaret dancer of the adjacent nightclub of the Princess of Oberoi Glen, claim her freedom the same way as a dancer performer? Can she also establish her right to earn her living? Can she claim her culture or performance the way Uthuk claimed her voice? While the court certainly acquitted and rightfully acquitted Uthuk of all charges of pervert culture, and it cited a statement signed on July 6, 1983 by the Chief Minister's Office of West Bengal, which declared that there would be no restriction for staging musicals in state-run halls except cabaret dance, snake dance, and belly dance. The fate of cabaret remained shrouded with suspicion and disgrace as the state decided to clamp down on nightclubs with an eye to drive out dance and live music from all restaurants and hotels. By late 20th century, cabaret as an object of historic curiosity slowly dwindled into a dead art form. And also, simultaneously, accidental fires crept in the historic edifices, gutting down in a row Star Theatre, Rangmohol, Vishwarupa and Sarkarina, all at midnight, where the spark was often attributed to a mysterious short circuit, and all the fire incidents actually happened during dead of the night, after midnight, and many happens in Diwali nights also. Some prompt arrests were also made, and newspaper reports, however, hinted at a sinister nexus between real estate and political parties. So this is after more than 100 years in the limelight. Calcutta's professional theatre also became shadowed by scandal and suspicion till the lights went out for good in Hathibagan Theatre of North Calcutta. I conclude. I met Arati Das many a times, who now remembered her journey as Miss Shefali, her enigmatic journey, looking at the distant past. From a kind of detachment, she never really, during her last years, wanted to associate herself with the ignominy, with the scandal, with the sleaze, with the stigma associated with her name. Here, the homely Arati Das, actually, she said, had nothing in common with the exotic Shefali. And she preferred to keep her more celebrated self within bracket always. But when I asked about the journey of Miss Shefali, who's Shefali, and only you can talk about that celebrated dancer, she said, in a way, Arati is the flip side of Shefali. Arati lives deep within my private self, and Shefali is my public identity. I know how and when to connect and split the two, and to retain my unadulterated self. Arati's cultural past was rooted in Hindu Brahmanic ethos, swathed in everyday ritual, whereas Shefali inhabits a blasphemous world, which was rooted through exotic European subculture in this hybrid city. How did Arati's world was steeped in the North Calcutta neighborhood co-opt and live through Shefali's Easter, Christmas, and New Year celebrations? Shefali answers, I never hung on to my past roots and moved ahead with future aspirations as destiny had rooted me through unanticipated destination. Or you may say that my roots are always on the move. Suspended in her struggles between rooting into and rooting out, Arati trails the journey of Miss Shefali, whom she shadows like her alter ego, her second self. I am Miss Shefali. Finally, in one word, she said, cabaret is my identity. I cannot discard or denigrate myself just because you, the Bengali respectable middle class, once found it obscene and condemnable. If cabaret is vulgar, Why have you come to watch it every night before going to outlaw it on moral grounds? Shefali remained a spinster, not unsurprisingly, and had to claim aloud in her memoir, I am a dancer, not a prostitute. Definitely she kind of de-identified herself with the sex workers. And I stood by the sinister cultural politics of the state and the elites, the intelligentsia. After 30 years of my eviction from the public space, you can now read my life story as a counterculture of Calcutta's revolutionary aesthetic, or may reclaim it as a subversive testimony against sexual double standard and hypocrisy of a patriarchal state. I care a damn. I continue to exist despite your politics of ethics and pangs of conscience. Thank you. Thank you. I took 6 minutes more. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, Aishika ji, for the wonderful electric lecture. We have a lot of questions, but to filter a few, many are asking about the essential differences between cabaret dancers and bar dancers as such. Essential differences. Should I tell you all the questions all at once and you can choose to answer?
Yeah, maybe a couple.
Okay, so Jyoti Dole asks, how did Miss Shefali take to duality of vulnerability and empowerment? This is one. Our HOD asks, through tweets and obituary, though tweets and obituary were coming as deluge in the social media when Miss Shefali died, there were only a handful of people who accompanied her towards a crematorium in her last journey. How do you look at this kind of reaction by middle-class Bengali or Calcuttans? This is one. There was another question who asks how the Calcutta, the bhadralok women of Calcutta perceived Miss Shefali. These are some among the few questions. You can answer that. We can post other questions later.
Yes, because the last three questions are almost similar. I can only say that Miss Shefali was extremely aware of this, of her stigma, of the disrespect, and the kind of the attitude towards hard sexual body, sexual labors, the erotic pleasure that she once catered to the middle class elite audience in the Grand Hotel, and also to the low class, to the middle class, lower middle class people at Commercial Theatre of Hatibagan. She was extremely conscious and aware of her of the duality, of the dual mass that I was talking about. Yes, because about your HOD's comment about the obituary in Times of India, there actually it was mentioned that not a celebrity from the film world or from the dance world attended her funeral, and because I kind of interviewed her for the last 5 years and I visited her place quite often, she sometimes felt extremely excited about, you know, Konkona Sharma is making a web series on my life. Are you aware of that? But no one actually now contacted me. But I have just heard, I read somewhere that someone is making a biopic on my life, but no one is actually in touch with me. But then some days after, the filmmaker, the web series maker, got in touch with her, and she visited Grand Hotel, and Shefali personally invited me to the Grand Hotel, and look at the space. Here I dance, but the space is nowhere now because this is turned into one section of Sri Ramarke. So Princess is nowhere. It was demolished. So this is a kind of the attitude of today's Bengali middle class and of the 1980s. Actually, some changes have happened. As I said, we can leave her life, her testimony, as a subversive testimonial against the moral policing or the patriarchal double standard, the sexual double standard of the patriarchal state, of the intelligentsia, which once evicted her from the cultural space of performance, though not in a legal manner, but in a very creepy manner, because some, as I said in the last section, Star Theatre, Rangona, Vishwarupa, all being gutted down around the midnight. So actually the physical relics of the gentrified theatre space have been burned down, and all accidental fires were kind of attributed to short circuit, though we have the detectives, the police personnel found out that no such electricity wares were there, or something like sabotage was already established by the detective department. So yes, the middle class appreciated Shefali's dance in Shottaritre Srimabadho. Yes, the Hawaiian hula was entirely, it was extremely enticing, but she was certainly, as Sudarshana, played by Sharmila Tagore, said, Dhoni Kolkata, bravo Kolkata. So this cabaret girl is now earning 3,000 rupees, but my boyfriend is not going to permit me to take up this profession. So going back to the first question, how much empowerment, how much power, and how much vulnerability? Yes, there is extreme power, because she always said, as a sexual erotic dancer, I have the last word on stage. I am the fantasy girl, and I know what is the weakness of my male audience. I made them come back again the next night to see my dance. And once again, I asked her, the dance that you have danced, the Shelton, blues, cha-cha-cha, Hawaiian. So did they understand the cha-cha-cha, the steps of Hawaiian hula? She said, not at all. They did not understand the ABCD of Hawaiian hula. They just came to watch my body, my dance, the bikini-clad, half-nude body of Miss Shefali. They wanted to see me. They did not understand anything about dance. So once again, as a dancer, she knew her power did not actually reside on the grammar of dance, how authentic a Hawaiian dancer she is. It is a sexual appeal, it is a erotic appeal, and the pleasure she was there to cater, because Grand ensured huge number of foreign clientele, and the manager of Grand Hotel, I have interviewed many officials of Grand Hotel, they shared that thanks to Shefali, we had a steady flow of foreign clientele in Grand, and Farkos had to close down their Lido room, their nightclub, when Shefali decided to join Grand's Princess. So in fact, after Shefali retired from the nighttime economy of Calcutta, from the nightclubs, erotic cabaret culture, the Park Street cabaret culture had to be closed down. So it was Shefali who embodied the colonial cabaret. What is the difference between her and what is the difference between today's bar dancer? In a way, this is the historical trajectory. Shefali was disenfranchised once by the state, by the intelligentsia. And the space she inhabited was the illicit world of sexual pleasure, illicit world of Indian dance, and Anna Morcom has coined the term. Yes, this is the barred world of dance. But this illicit world has been inhabited not merely by one dancer, but by her audience, by the middle class us, by the elite middle class, the lower class middle class, the lower middle class, and also she said men in lungi, you know, the Muriwala, they used to watch my dance. It was actually ignominious. They declassed my cabaret. So the way we think, we often argue that it is Shefali's cabaret that polluted our sacred space of theatre, and she thinks it otherwise. She thinks you have cheapened my cabaret. Because I am a dancer of 5-star nightclub. I am trained, I have been trained by European dancers, by ballerinas like Gloria, and my musician was the Goanese Cecil Dorsey. So when I had to dance with Vival Sara's organ, and when I had to dance in Shankar's Chorangi, I didn't know about the play. I had no sense about your theater. I was not an actress. I'm an out and out, I'm a dancer. So it was your theater that declassed my cabaret. Shefali had her own arrogance, but deep within, she was extremely vulnerable because she knew it, and no one knows it better than her, how much stigma, how much powerlessness, how much economic vulnerability, how much sexual vulnerability, how much social vulnerability she had to suffer. She was not sexually safe, even as a domestic maid in Chandni Chowk. As an 11-year-old girl, she had to suffer sexual molestation every night. But when she became a cabaret dancer, a police officer gave her some fatherly advice. Why are you joining this profession? And her answer was that, if you are going to feed me and my family, I promise I'm not going to dance in the hotel. So bar dancers also kind of replied, gave me the same answer. When I interviewed some of the bar dancers of Bombay, and to tell you the truth now, it was Miss Shefali who gave me the addresses of present-day bar dancers. Many of them had been trained. Many of their ancestors had been trained from Shefali Sarkis Avenue flat. Shefali used to run a huge dance ensemble. She had her own dance, not school, but actually an institution. She had her own touring troupe of dancers. But today's bar dancers, they do not necessarily follow any style, any form of dancing. It was neither Hawaiian, nor cha-cha-cha, nor can, nothing, nor Oriental. It was only like crooning. You know, you are actually, the work by Samina Dalwai, the work by Meena Gopal, Prof. Kotishwaran, and also by Anna Morcom, that actually brought to light that there is, when I'm talking about Shefali, I had to trace the history of cabaret and how and why cabaret arrived, not why, how cabaret arrived in Kolkata's Grand Hotel or in the Park Street region. Because Shefali was not the only dancer. It was not an empty space of nothingness. The entertainment scene was already ripe with exotic, erotic dance and music. So Shefali was just trained to be the new exotic and racialized other, to cater exotic indulgence to the new brown sahibs. The brown sahibs of Park Street. If you can actually think about Shimabodho, Shyamolandu Chatterjee of multinational companies director, how he is actually watching Miss Shefali's dance to celebrate one special night of his promotion, and how Shefali garlanded Shyamolandu Chatterjee, that actually also exposed, was a moment of his exposure, and also the moment of the moral descent of the man. Yes, the bar dancers, it's a whole new economy, moral, political economy, and also it's a whole new world of performance. It's a whole new world of politics, underworld, many things. So Shefali actually, as far as her dance within the 5-star nightclubs is concerned, we cannot really draw her any parallel with Shefali and the bar dancers. But definitely, if we had to kind of trace the trajectory of illicit world of Indian dance, or the underbelly of performance, then we have to acknowledge that the bar dancers, the present day bar dancers, are another, they survived the Miss Shefali's erotic dancing.
Thank you, Aishika ji. Thank you so much. It's a proud moment for us at Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis Mahavidyalaya that we have been
Very comfortable. I'm so sorry. I'm not.
No, it is our privilege. Thank you so much.
Point is also I couldn't show that because maybe
Okay.
this.
Would you allow a few more questions?
Definitely.
So there is one question which came a lot of people were asking this question, that what is the difference according to you between bar dancers or item dancers and cabaret dancers? This is one.
But this is not one, this answer is actually will take another night, I think. Because cabaret is a distinct genre of nighttime entertainment. It's a distinct style. Cabaret is not one type of dancing, it's a show. You know what is cabaret. It's a package of theater, acting, dance, and but the way we understand Calcutta's cabaret theater, or Shefali's theater in Grand Hotel, there actually, it may be another item dance. What is the difference between bar dancing? Bar dancing inhabited a very different world, as I said. Dance bars that now pervaded Mumbai and also in different metropolitan towns of India, in Calcutta, on the national highways. And bar dancing is a way to earn livelihood for many women. Yes, a great majority of them come from a different, the low caste background. Some of them are hereditary performers. Some of them are also migrants from Bangladesh, Nepal. And at the moment, after the 2005 ban, field work, investigative research that carried out under the SNDT University, Mumbai, brought to light that West Bengal stands only second next to UP in supplying bar dancers in Mumbai. What is so bar dancing is another means of livelihood, is another means of, it's another way of performing labor, and definitely it will take, I will say, one lecture to, because I have also worked on bar dancers of Bengali bar dancers of Mumbai and Bengali bar dancers of Calcutta. But Miss Shefali and cabaret culture, or Calcutta's cabaret, is a little different from bar dancing. In bar dancing, bars are more open to middle class, lower middle class, or emergent middle class audience. But Shefali inhabited upmarket nightclubs, where, as I said, rights of admission were reserved. Shefali still carried on the legacy of exotic, erotic colonial entertainment, of the European white bodies that once rolled into the colonial city to entertain the colonial sahibs. So Shefali was actually straddled across several cultural, geographic, and moral boundaries. But the bar dancers today, they are steeped in absolute underbelly, the dark, deep secrets of our nightlife. And also the item numbers of Bollywood, or if you can ask me to compare Miss Shefali with Ellen, there is once again heaven and hell difference, because there I will say that how the bourgeois middle class, how the Bollywood industry had appropriated this cabaret dance forms, and how the privileged, the bourgeois, once again, yes, the elite is now showcasing that cabaret in a very different media on the celluloid, and no stigma, nothing was attached with that. So that is once again another different audience, another economy, another form of popular entertainment, where the appropriation of that wild, sexual, erotic dancing style by some privileged, high caste bodies. And it is once again the mainstreaming of this erotic dance culture. But if we are going to compare Shefali with Helen, We cannot. Because Shefali had to sell her erotic labor. She never had been able to achieve the status of Helen. She often regretted that I wanted to be another Helen. You know, Shakti Samanto had cast me in a Bollywood movie. I got the chance, but I could not leave Kolkata because the commercial theatre, I had signed a contract with the theatre owners. I had to play the lead role in Shamrat Sundari, in Oslil, in Vivor. So these are not landmarks of our career. These are the landmarks of the decadent culture of Kolkata. When you look back at the commercial theatre, now I think commercial theatre had been studied as another intellectually, but barring this cabaret dancer, without excluding this cabaret dancer, we read the text, we read about the theatre owners, we read about the theatre directors, we read about the heroines and heroes of the play, but without the cabaret dancer, she's just another prop. So what is the difference? Yes, as far as the illicit, exotic, erotic dancing style is concerned, maybe we can trace we can weave all them together, all these dancing bodies together, like cabaret dancer, item dancers, Helen, Bindu, Aruna Irani, and also the nameless bar dancers, or Miss Bobby, Miss Papia, Miss J, Miss Jamie, who are they? So this nameless, stigmatized, impoverished, erotic dancers who dance in the streets, in matcha, in one-man shows, in the commercial CD theaters are a class apart from the privileged erotic dancers which we adore on screen. I repeat, they are a class apart. It is the class politics of the middle class elite that stigmatized, disempowered, and evicted the low class erotic dancers from the space of performance. We have been able to strip them of their livelihood. We took them away their right to perform, to earn their livelihood. So today the disenfranchised group of dancers who inhabited, I repeat, who inhabit the entire underbelly of the city life are no match for the item dancers of Bollywood film industry.
Thank you, Aishika ji. I don't think time will permit to take any more questions, and my colleagues and we have been on this webinar, on this lecture series since the morning, since 11 a.m. and I don't think it will be justified to take any more questions today. But can you please share your email ID with us so that participants who have more questions can talk with you directly?
Definitely. Ankura, you can also share it with Aishika, Aishika, Chaka, Aishika Chak, Aishika, Chaka @gmail.com. @gmail.com. If we sometime, at least 5 minutes, then I can share the PowerPoint where I have. Do you have any time, Ankona? No.
I will leave it with my HOD. Dr. Dash, over to you.
No. Please allow, madam. Please allow.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Carry on.
Please go on.
Oh. So this is the cover of the Bengali book. And if you look at the dancing body, you can find the kind of European colonial exotic glamour she is embodying in her. The costume, the kind of movement, this is not today's bar dancing is not like that. You have already, these are one of the pictures. This is the poster of Chaurangi. So actual actors and actresses, the celebrated actors, only their face actually figured in the poster, where Shefali with her entire body hit the jackpot with her obscene dancing. This is the famous scene, the nurse who moonlights as a prostitute in Satyajit Ray's Pratidwandi. And this is also Shefali, the girl, adolescent refugee girl, the half-starved leader room, as a member of, as a lead dancer of the famous sextet, Iron Dance. She's getting old. Some of the leading lifestyle magazines like Ravibar, Sunday, Society had Shefali as their cover girl. This was the time when actually nightclubs organized actual cabaret or exotic dancing. This is, yes, we have something in common in today's bar dancing. This is some of the clippings from Shima Bodho, Bengal's matinee idol. She cherished her relationship with the Tollywood. This is the poster of Chaurangi, once again. And these are some obscene, vulgar pictures of Miss Shefali. Finally, yes, this is her last show in Grand. Myself with Miss Shefali. This is Oberoi Grand, just a few days before her death. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nandita Di, will you be hosting?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Chakraborty, for this wonderful session and the introduction. Hello? Yes. Participants are requested to mute their audio, please. Okay. Thank you. Yes, answer.
Yes. Well, Professor Chakraborty, it's really a pleasure for us to listen to you because your lecture has explored so many unexplored areas and all that. And now we are at the end of our session, and our convener of the women's cell will deliver the vote of thanks shortly. But before we wind up, I just want to say one thing. That is, the participants and the organizers, as well as our guest speaker today, all are now waiting for their dinner, and we are not in a position to provide even the virtual dinner right now. But what I reiterate here is that you have given us ample food for thought. So I hope the participants will enjoy the kind of food that you have given for thinking and thinking. So thank you once again. Okay, for your brilliant talk. Over to you, Nandita.
Thank you so much. Thank you. But as I just, I must say that this is, I'm not really very satisfied with this presentation because maybe because this kind of a very, very restricted kind of a
yes.
framework, and where I cannot see people's faces.
Yes.
Actually, some of the comments are coming and I'm not sure how to deal with it, and whether to answer it right now. And yes, because Miss Shefali is also part of my journey, and it's 5-year-long research, as I just said. And today I have been able to just that some of the highlights, some of the crucial moments of her life.
Passionate deliberation is in fact evident in the way you are talking.
Much better, because the film show, and now some people have said, is it in Bengali? And so at the beginning, actually, I wanted to start with Pratidwandi, because that is the attitude towards the middle class, towards Shefali. How Dhritiman Chatterjee, how he encounters the nurse and how she opened her hair and how she lights up a cigarette. So the entire thing is actually a pointer towards our attitude towards the dancing girl. But in her, anyway, we can go on.
Yes, yes.
I will maybe some any other finish it off.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Surely, ma'am. So we would ask our the convener of the women's cell of our college, Dr. Alpuna Roy, to give both of them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. Please go ahead. Hello. Please go ahead, Alpunadi.
ম্যাডাম চলে গেল ম্যাডাম কোথায় দেখ
Dr. Roy.
ডিসকানেক্ট হয়ে আছেন আচ্ছা
The dignitaries who have witnessed today's event as a memorable and successful one. Words are not enough to express my gratitude, and on behalf of our college, I, Dr. Alpuna Roy, the convener of the Women's Cell, would like to thank first the organizer, our English department, and the faculties who have shaped up this webinar in such relevant and promising topic of the society. All the young enthusiasts like Nondita, Onkona, Chandrima, Isha, Orko, and Dr. Shukanto Dash, HOD of English department, have worked hard to make it successful. So my thanks to all of them. Now I owe my sincere acknowledgement to our renowned speakers, Dr. Shipra Mukherjee, Professor, Department of English, West Bengal State University, Dr. Robin E. Field, Professor, Department of English, King's College, Pennsylvania, Dr. Aishika Chakraborty, Professor, Department of English, School of Women's Studies, who have graced us with their thought-provoking lectures on this very sensitive topic of our society. We are all very much thankful to them as they have taken out time from their busy schedule and have shared their thoughts lucidly. Thank you very much, ma'am. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by our respected principal, Dr. Shamul Karmakar, who has been a constant support without which we could not have organized this beautiful webinar. Thank you, sir. We are also very much thankful our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Komala Mitro, for our untiring involvement and encouragement to arrange this wonderful webinar. I extend my sincere thanks to the technical support team, the Department of Computer Science, especially Suparna, Shamrat, and Dipchika, without whom this outstanding event would not have been possible. At last, but not the least, I thank all the participants without whose valuable presence this event would not have been successful. Thank you all once again and good night. Bye-bye.
On behalf of the Department of English, I thank you, Madam Dr. Alpuna Rai, for your involvement. Thank you. You must also thank yourself.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. And good night, all the participants. Good night to you all. Thank you.